So this one is Samalang's Regret or Realization Arc Part 13, and it's all from the novel. Though they have been changing in the drama, I said that I would make it as per the novel, so I'll make it as per the novel. And it will also serve, it may serve as the spoiler video for episode 16. But take it, yeah, I don't know. So yeah. So Sanwalang was waiting anxiously at the restaurant that he wouldn't visit on any normal days, but he still did not dare to leave, for he was afraid that Gauthu would come and he would miss him, and then Gauthu would disappear once again like before. And as he was waiting, Gaoming finally pushed the door of the restaurant at around 1:15, and Samalang was very anxious to see whether Gauthu did come or not, and he was itching to like stand up and look behind him, but he still maintained his like calm expression. But he immediately saw Gauthu behind Gao Ming, and he saw Gauthu coming inside the restaurant in a very reluctantly, very reluctantly, and his expression seemed very pained, as if Gauthu did not want to meet Samalang outside of workplace after the resignation and all. And he felt that Huang's word were all of a sudden were true, that after resignation Gauthu was not obedient to him, and he felt that Gauthu was very terrible, but he still was thinking about him, missing him, and he was like very like little happy to see Gauthu after a very long time. Yeah. So while waiting for Gauthu for almost over an hour, Samwalang felt as if he was being roasted on fire. But the moment he saw Gauthu, like the heat, it it felt as if the heat was poured by the water and drizzled out, and he saw how Gauthu was very terrible, more terrible than the last time he saw him at the hospital. And Samalang saw how Gauthu was not wearing his glasses that he would usually wear, and he thought that Gauthu did not want to have dinner with Samalang. That is why he was walking inside the restaurant very slowly, and he looked as if he was a frightened rabbit, someone with like his expression was that of one humiliated and very pained expression. He came in with that kind of expression inside the restaurant. Looking at Gauthu's behavior, Samalang felt that Gauthu really did not want to go back with him, and that thought made his heart bitter. But since he had come like driving all the way from Jianghu and it took so many hours, he was still very nervous and quickly, like checked his appearance and all, and he was very nervous, as if he was going for an interview rather than meeting his older subordinate. And compared to Samalang's mixed feelings, Gauthu's heart was like very hurt. He walked into the restaurant step by step as if he was about to die, and all he felt was humiliation and scared for what's about to happen. And like his glasses was broken during the argument with those three alphas earlier, and he couldn't see clearly, but he still saw Samalang, and Samalang looked as outstanding as before. Gauthu felt that. And Gaoming, Gauthu's father, said that Gauthu had something to do, that is why they were late. And Samalang asked if it was really the case, but Gauthu never looked at him nor even replied to him, and they just sat down. And looking at Samalang, who was still waiting for them, Gaoming became even more assured that Samalang knew that Gauthu was pregnant with his child. That is why he was so patient to wait for his subordinate, like Gauthu, who is plain and umbrella, something like that. And Gao Ming said that Samalang had something to discuss with Gauthu, that is why they made an appointment. But after that, he said up in front that Gauthu is pregnant with Samalang's child, with your child, and if you want the child to be aborted, then you have to pay 10 million up in front. Hearing that, and Gauthu had like all his blood rushed to his brain, and he did not hear properly what Samalang said after that. But he was very scared, and he felt as if he couldn't breathe. Like when Gauthu saw Samalang, though Samalang looked like calm on the surface, Gauthu, having known him for so many years, immediately knew what he was really thinking about, how his expression released distrust and like suspicions and everything. And after that, Gauthu quickly stood up from his chair, making a loud noise, but it seemed that he did not seem to notice it, and said that he needed to go to the washroom. And Sarolang was about to follow him and asked what the situation really was about, but was stopped by Gao Ming, saying how let him go, and for talking about aborting an omega in front of the said person himself was a bit cruel, and they could decide the terms after Gauthu returns back from the washroom. But after that, yeah, Gotu once again like disappears, and Samalang was still suspicious about whether what Gao Ming said was true or not. But after that, like he calls Huayang, and Huayang says, like, and they have a talk and said, Samalang said how Gotu was pregnant, as said by Gotu's father, and only then did Huayang once again sent him the picture of the Omega that he spent the night before, and only then did he finally realize that, yeah, Gotu was an Omega and he was indeed pregnant by his seed. Yeah, I'll be back later. I'll be back with next part soon. Wait.